ruining things, so forgive me for the quick.
I would like to call this meeting to order, the Town Commission Budget Public Hearing on September 22nd, 2021 at 5:05 p.m. Let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Town Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Mayfield,
Here.
Vice Mayor Campo,
Here.
Commissioner Fender,
Here.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompak.
Here.
All right, coming up first is public comment on non-agenda items. I think the town manager briefly went over the guidelines, but I will go over them again. The forms are in the back. Non-agenda items need to be turned in now, and agenda items need to be turned in before that item comes up. I will call your name when it's your turn to speak. Please come up to the podium and state your name and address. And please make sure we do those steps. Some of the people have been asking who've been watching meetings, and so please make sure you state your name and address. Direct your comments to the mayor and commission as a whole. Comments to the audience are not permitted. Comments are 3 minutes. We've got a nice clock right there. There will be a bell reminder, correct, Town Clerk? Right. And that's it. So up first, we have Kent Hoffman. Please come up to the podium.
Good evening. My name is Kent Hoffman. My wife Sherry and I live at 42 Rio Vista Drive. We have lived in Sewell's Point now for 10 plus years. When we first came down, we chose Sewell's Point specifically due to its small town feel and relaxed, charming lifestyle. In the past 10 years, we have met many of our Sewell's Point neighbors, and we are happy to call many of them dear friends. We moved from a small farming community in northern Illinois from a town called Sycamore. Stewart and Sewell's Point, the communities here are very similar to the city of Sycamore. A little farming community in the middle of nowhere, but very similar in their nature. County seat, big courthouse, very similar. We did not move here for increased traffic or road, traffic's on the road, or trendy new restaurants, or even increased taxes. We moved here because of the laid-back, relaxed, charming lifestyle offered by Sewell's Point. As expected, things have changed over the years here in Sewell's Point. There are more new homes, less green spaces. How many new homes have been built here in the past 3 years? How many new green spaces have disappeared because of that? The Sewell's Point property values have increased dramatically, and we have been besieged with new neighbors coming from everywhere. That's a good thing. But at the same time, the bottom line is Sewell's Point is gaining more and more tax dollars from all of these changes. Yet here we are. The town manager and this commission are lining up more projects and asking for more tax dollars. The proposed millage rate increase, it really isn't that much money. But still, it's a start. What's going to be next? The town manager asking for a substantial salary increase after the first year, plus perks. The septic to sewer project, where is that at? From our perspective, it's not even close to having a financial plan in order, but yet it feels like the project has already been approved and ready to start. Okay? And yet, your commissioners, you don't even get paid for what you're doing to support Sewell's Point. I honor you for that. That's a good thing. But at the same time, we still need to protect what we have here at Sewell's Point. Let me be clear. Sherry and I, we don't mind paying a few extra dollars in taxes. If our money is well spent on common sense, well managed, approved by the majority projects which serve the people of Sewell's Point, we are all in agreement for that. We do take offense to pushing for higher taxes when the projects are apparently. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kent. All right, up next we have Bonnie Flint.
I'll keep I have a handout for the commissioners, and Mona is going to help me with distribution there. I think the order's actually kind of good to, no, they have.
Thank you.
It should look familiar. I'm here simply to ask the question today of the commissioners, and it would be nice if it were a format where you could respond. This is what I talked about last week, and I think this is where we break down in communication. But I have a concern. It's been a 5 or 6 year concern, and now it seems to be hitting a crescendo. I am not aware when there was ever a vote, a movement to approve a huge S2S project here in Sewell's Point. And yet, we keep bringing Joe Capra back, we have attorneys here, we have, fees being incurred. What goes? What did I miss here? Am I missing something, Dave? James? Kaya? Kaya, you know as well as anybody, frankly, that, dating back to November of 2017, you weren't all here. Some of you were probably in the audience, and we had some prior commissioners, and I better hurry up, because we presented you with a petition, a canvassing of the residents of Sewell's Point, the only one I'm aware of that anyone's done in the last 5 years, formally. And it was over 300 people who were happy with things as they were, and were not looking to embark on an expensive $20 million conversion project, no matter who was paying, okay? Although knowing that much was going to come out of one's pocket. It was dismissed. Here we go. No feedback from the group. And you weren't all here, but I thought we're walking this path together. I thought we're trying to stretch dollars, trying to make judicious use of funds, and to prioritize expenditures and projects. And that's what, I know it's a tall order, and I appreciate everything you do and have gotten us to thus far. But this is a big slip up. The cart is going before the horse here. There have been repeated calls for referendums. And instead, it's been sort of clever for those of you who happen to feel otherwise than I do, to chip away at the project. Bring a consultant in, start talking about grants or whatever. We haven't even decided as a town, is this what we want to do? Please take a look at Kaya's resolution from a year ago. This was brought in right before Christmas, just like you're proposing to discuss salary considerations just before Christmas.
Okay.
This is not a way.
Okay, thank you, Bonnie. I appreciate that, and we'll look at it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, up next we have Kathy Muskoski.
Kathy Muskoski, good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners, and thank you for this opportunity to speak as an advocate for my neighbor's voice. We respectfully remind you, the first thing that should have happened upon your election by our residents was the destruction of your personal and preconceived ideas, any narrow-minded thinking, and all allegiances to be turned solely to the servants of Sewell's Point residents' own purpose. Your commission position, after all, was created for us and for our benefit to hear, know, and respond to this voice, our voice. Self-conceit, self-motivation, approval or conformity addiction, and intolerance seems to have diverted you on another course, but it has not altered the residents' voice or purpose to the slightest degree. The realization of your election by us should have inspired you to force the interests of Sewell's Point residents through the channel of your heart to focus on them. You should continually keep your soul and ear open to our voice and never confuse it or cloud it with your own or others' intentions. When you do, residents must force these intentions aside, no matter how much it may hurt or offend you. We expect your absolute righteousness and allegiance to our voice over that of any other. Beware, lest you forget your purpose as our elected officials. Tonight will be your opportunity to lead by the residents' voice, your opportunity to change, your opportunity to support the town charter, and to support we the people of Sewell's Point and our request. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Up next, we have Carol Shantos.
Carol Shaughness. I'm back up here because I think it was 2 weeks ago, we had a budget meeting, and I had said that the line item for salaries was a joke, that it didn't explain anything. It didn't even have each staff member on it. It just had one number for everyone. That is not an acceptable budget. And the manager made it clear at the meeting, saying she didn't think that any of us should know her salary because then that she would be harassed. I don't know where she comes from, but any big company, you don't get harassed for something like that. Now, I want to go over this because I asked for that information. You printed a budget again, and nothing has changed. So today, I gave 3 record requests to the chief to hand to April. So it's not said that you didn't get it, because I've had that happen to me. So I want it on record that those requests were put in, and I also put in there that I'm not paying for them, because that information should be in the budget for every person who lives in this town to know how much each person is paying. And I want to get to the salary, because what the town manager was asking for was ridiculous. So let me just give you this information. This comes out of a personal friend who's a vice president of an international company. 2 weeks of vacation pay to the 3rd year. On the 3rd year, they get 3 weeks. And on the 5th year, they get a month. This is their normal, and this is a big paying company, but it doesn't matter. They don't provide cars for someone that does traveling. They provide them with mileage on their car, or sometimes they'll give them a rental if it's a distance, but not coming back and forth to work for a small town. You get mileage, and she should not be reimbursed for something that, like her insurance, that she was offered.
Thank you, Carol. All right, moving on. Now we have additions. There's no more public. Is there one? Okay, that you're reading aloud? Take it away, town clerk.
This public comment is from Nancy Neal. Please know that I am a resident who has lived in Sewell's Point for 47 years. I would like to let you know that the tax proposal and the town manager's salary are not what I feel should be passed at this time. More time and pencils sharpened to be more realistic.
Thank you. That's it? Okay, thank you very much. All right, moving on to item 3, additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda. Any additions, deletions, or changes? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second.
Town clerk, call the vote, please.
Commissioner Fender?
Yes.
Commissioner Tom Peck?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Campo?
Aye.
Mayor Mayfield?
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzman?
Yes.
All right, moving on to public hearing. We are going to start with the rollback announcement in a brief presentation, and then we will be moving into public comment on that. So, Finance Director, are you going to lead the presentation? All right.
So, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, this information should seem familiar to you. We've changed it a little bit for the final public budget hearing, but for the announcement, for the standard language, the substantive reasons for the millage rate of 3.268 rather than the rollback rate are the continuation of town priorities, including the major capital projects to benefit the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the town of Sewell's Point. The 21-22 operating millage rate of 3.2688 mils is greater than the rollback rate of 2.8056 mils by 16.51%. This was advertised in the paper on September 17th. So we've met the requirements for the announcement in a local distribution. Some of the budget highlights for key revenue sources. The operating budget is funded completely by a millage rate of 2.87. The additional revenue generated from millage rate increase was dedicated by resolution to completion of the South Sewell's Point Road project that is currently under construction. We do have a $50,000 grant pending from DEO. We hope to bring that to the commission in the next few weeks for approval once it's gone through the DEO legal side, which will serve to offset the $80,000 comprehensive planning expense, resulting in a net cost to the town of $30,000 for fiscal year 22. We also have the $75,000 grant pending from DEO, which will serve to offset future climate change planning expenses. In terms of expense reductions, transitioning from consultants to in-house staffing, grant management expense for fiscal year 21, so this ending fiscal year, we were able to eliminate $90,000 in grant management expense by absorbing that in-house without any additional staff. Again, for fiscal year 22, we've eliminated that $90,000 estimate in grant management expense by utilizing current staff. Payroll processing is now done in-house, formerly using Paychex with a reduction of $5,000 annually. Again, no change in staffing. And so we've heard a lot about home values are increasing. And I know that we all see it. We know what home values are. My husband's in mortgages. He is seeing the increase. And I realize that sales values are very different from taxable and assessed values. So we wanted to point out a few things. This taxable value for the millage rate that you're working on is based on the 2020 calendar year. So it's as of January 1, 2021. So anything that's happened from January 1st to now is not reflected in those values. The Save Our Homes Act limits the annual increase of assessed value at 3% or the change in the consumer price index, whichever is less. So for 2020, the change in CPI was 2.3%, which means the assessed value for homesteaded properties can only increase a maximum of 2.3%. So I know we see double-digit market sales increases. I have my glasses on, sorry, I'm fogging up. We're seeing double-digit increase in market prices and sales and things like that. But for homesteaded properties, the maximum increase in the assessed value can only be 2.3%. And what does this look like for the town of Sewell's Point? There were 126 properties that actually had a reduction in assessed value. So their assessed values decreased. 83 properties had an increase of less than 2.3%, but more than zero. And 581 homes that are homesteaded that were capped out at that 2.3%, which means 790 of your 989 residential properties had an assessed value increase of 2.3% or less. It's 80% of your properties with assessed value of less than 2.3%.
All right, thank you very much. Anything else you want to add? Are you good?
We're ready for public comment.
All right, let's do public comment. All right, up first we have, I'm trying to figure out who to turn those in first. Mona Leonard. Come up and state your name and address for the record, please.
Mona Leonard, One Heritage Way. A little history lesson. We went through years of presentations on septic to sewer with no scientific evidence of sewers being better than our self-contained systems we now have in our yards. While our local utilities, such as Martin County Utilities, City of Stewart, Mr. Tom Peck's utility up in Fort Pierce, they're owned by the government, and they dump millions and millions of gallons of raw sewage into our Indian River Lagoon. Yet it's somehow our septic tank's fault. People are led to believe sewers are better because that's the propaganda you put before them. The cost and benefits analysis doesn't show that conversion makes any sense at all, fiscally or environmentally. The cost is much more than dollars. Our property rights and the ability to provide very safe, gravitational, self-contained systems, as we currently have, are removed by the government and replaced with an unsound form of taxation that is more harmful to our environment. The actual measurements haven't been taken in the town of Sewell's Point for many years, if they were ever actually taken on leakage into our lagoon. Our systems safely and effectively reduce elements naturally through gravity. Stormwater runoff from fertilized yards has many multiples more the negative impact on the environment. Mr. Tom Peck's utility dumped millions of gallons of raw sewage in the Indian River Lagoon, and it's done intentionally. The residents of Sewell's Point want a referendum before any money is spent, especially $250,000 on design, when you clearly don't know our history or choose to ignore it and the residents. Did you know we have an obsolete sewer system in South Sewell's Point? Our tax money paid for that system, and it sat there because no one wanted it. You're going to do the same thing to us again, but this time you're going to tell us we have to hook up. Did you know you would have to assess the entire town on this unscientific mandate? The most recent petition circulated regarding septic to sewer showed that 78% of the residents in Sewell's Point did not want septic to sewer conversion. And the grant money that you're so excited about getting doesn't have strings attached, they're ropes with big knots, such as affordable housing requirements in that grant. Stop spending our money and start representing the residents of the town of Sewell's Point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mona. Up next, we have Tony Lagana. Come up and state your name and address for the record, please, Tony.
Tony Lagana, 19 East High Point Road. Is the commission going to listen to the voice of the people who are ultimately paying for these pie-in-the-sky projects, or is the commission going to listen to the recommendation of staff? Why do we have to spend $250,000 for a design of sewers that a majority of residents have said they don't want? It would be a shame if the people have to litigate against the town commission in order to be listened to. The current budget has an item that says fines. Are these fines that have already been collected or just imposed? What happened to the legal funds that was set aside for the possible helicopter litigation? Why are we paying $110,000 for a town manager when the town manager of Tampa earns a maximum of $86,683? And this is done on a simple internet search for salaries both private and public. Why are we paying $200 per month, which is $2,400 a year, for a car allowance, for a car to sit in front of the town? And if the car is used for town business, then the IRS says you can charge 56 cents per mile. That would be a lot less than $2,400 a year. There were many speakers that raised many intelligent points at the last meeting, including Don Bangino, who gave voice to the idea that Sewell's Point was not going to become a piggy bank for the town staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. All right, up next, we have Alan Derosa. If you'd come up and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Alan Derosa. I live at 16 North Sewell's Point Road. I've been living there for 10 years. My comments around the millage rate and assessed values in the town. I've gone through all the line items in the budget, and I've got a few questions on them, as I'm sure all of you have, and I'm not going to get into them now, because I have placed some value in your positions that you've been through every line item, and that you're comfortable for each of the line items in there. I assume that. Regarding the millage rate history, in the final budget information from the town manager, one of the bullet points says the long-running adopted millage rate, which was also referred to as a historical long rate, was established in fiscal year 2015. I'd just like to add one other comment to that, and that is the millage rate, which is we're looking at right now, 16% increase. In 2013, the millage rate was 2.28. Today, it's 2.87. So from 13 to 15, the millage rate was increased by 25%. So if you apply that to the current increase we're looking for, we'd be looking at a millage rate increase of 43% in 8 years. I will leave that to your judgment if that's reasonable. One other bullet point, the town of Sewell's Point had the lowest increase in property values of the established municipalities, with the exception of the newly established village of Indiantown. Also, we looked at the assessed properties, which are assessment for properties only allowed to go up about 3%. They're going up about 2.3% overall. Looking at assessed value in Sewell's Point and comparing it to other towns in Martin County, we find out that the assessed value per home in Sewell's Point is more than twice the assessed value of the average home in Stewart and some of the other communities in Martin County. The exception is certainly Jupiter Island. So, what that means overall, with this assessed value applied against the average value, assessment value of the homes in Sewell's Point, is that we are collecting twice as much money, and a little bit more than twice as much, as the average assessment and home in Stewart that is collected. So we're getting per home twice as much money in tax revenue than the other communities in Martin County. I'd like to ask, why does it take us twice as much money to run this town than it does to run Stewart?
Thank you, Alan. All right, up next, we have Don Weiner. Don Weiner, can you come up, name and address, please?
Don Weiner, 1019 Ridgeland Drive, 45-year resident, former mayor and commissioner. I have one question and then comments. I've sat here and heard and saw a budget that had maybe 4 or 5 pages that talked about all kinds of little line items. And I see a resolution that says it's approving an attached budget. The attached budget doesn't have all those little lines. It has one number, for example, $1,150,000 for salaries. This is what you're approving. You're not approving this unless the lawyer tells me something different. You're approving this, which means the town manager, and perhaps she should, can take $1 million, give it to Tina as a retirement bonus. I think that would be great. So, in any case, I'm just curious as to how you can approve this when this is what you want to do. It doesn't make sense. Legally, I mean, whatever. I made the comment before. Clarification, you're maxing out your credit cards. During my term in office, we were at 1.8, 1.9% millage rate. We stayed there. Tony Lagana's been around a long time. We stayed there. Why? Because we knew what we had coming in, and we didn't spend more of it. We put money away for reserves every year. I don't see that happening. I saw $1.6 million come out of reserves, which are only there for emergencies. You're not listening. You're up there. I know the feelings. I know what you're going through. You're not listening. I don't know who you're listening to, but you, in any case, I won't go into it at length. I will just say the gentleman over here that's a 10-year new person in town, he's right. But on a regular basis, every day I hear from residents, they know who I am. And I hear comment after comment after comment, and I say the same thing to them that I will say to this gentleman. Run for office. We need people to run for office. When I ran, there were 10 of us running for 3 seats. Now you're lucky to get 3 to run for 3 seats. Something's wrong with this picture. That's it.
Thanks, Don. All right, up next we have Phyllis Castro. Phyllis Castro?
Hi, Madam Mayor and Commissioners, City Manager. It's been a long time since I've been up here.
I'm sorry, would you just do your name and address on the record? Again?
Phyllis
Thank you.
Castro,
Yeah.
4 Worth Court.
Thank you.
And I've been in Sewell's Point since 2013. I just want to thank you all, first of all, for your volunteer services and time, because I know this isn't easy. I'm an accountant by trade, and in the past, I used to always kind of look and take apart the budget and put it back together again. Unfortunately, I haven't attended meetings since my 95-year-old mom got hit by a car while walking across the street in Fort Pierce in October of 2019. So when you have tragedy and you have bills to pay and you have kids in college and you have a son who had a motorcycle accident and ended up in the trauma unit in July, it gets serious, the whole money thing. So I love Sewell's Point, and I would like to stay here. But sometimes when I look at our tax rate and I look at the number of homes in Sewell's Point, I mean, there's 900 homes and approximately 2,100 people to pay for this large budget. I'm concerned that I won't be able to stay here. And that's where I'm coming from. So I really hope that you can really look at the budget, look at it line by line. In the past, I volunteered to help and analyze, and I would be more than amenable to doing that. And also, I also would like to see the payroll amounts broken out by position and by benefit amount, because that says a lot. Thank you again, and that's really all I have to say.
Thank you, Phyllis. All right, up next we have Carol Shantos.
I continue to be disturbed about this septic to sewer. I think you people are doing it all behind our back, without our vote, without our consensus. And you can say no, but you go for grants. And in the past, when a grant gets passed and you got the money for North Sewell's Point, and we talked about possibly giving it back, it was your representative,
Overdorf.
Gail Harold, yes, Gail Harold, and she stated to you that if you gave it back, you'd never get a grant for anything again. And I think that's what you're going to do. You're already taking money from us for the septic. You've got it in the budget for $250,000 for design. Now, Mr. Tompeck, at the last meeting that I was at, you said that you thought it was a good idea to find out what's available for us so that we could see what the real cost will be. Well, you had a woman here from Brevard County that said it was $30,000 to $50,000 a home. So what would make it acceptable to you? Do you think you can get grants for $30,000? I mean, this is unrealistic. You're not being fair because you're going to go for this and you're going to go for grants, and you've already applied for all of us to get loans, and not one of us was asked. You're doing this behind our back. And you're going for more grant money, you're going for where you want to find out where else, and you've even got $250,000 in the budget this year for design. And I'm asking this commission to take that out of the budget, to be fair to the people who pay for this, and get a referendum next year, but take that money out, because we haven't been asked how we feel about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Up next, Kathy Muskowski. Kathy? Name and address for the record, please.
Kathy Muskowski, Commissioners. We ask that tonight you follow the example of Martin County's commission, who at their budget hearing responded to the pandemic financial concerns and the residents' voice by focusing on Martin County's financial health and that of the residents. They verbally expressed willingness to stay all night as they planned on shaving millions from their proposed budget. They worked together with staff to determine which projects they could delay. They asked staff and received details about various expenditures to reduce the largest dollar amounts without losing state or federal funds. Upon agreement to delay a project or take a reduction, they directed staff accordingly. This was surprising and pleasant to witness, as it was in contrast to proceedings at our own town budget meetings. Martin County staff did not show comparison charts of other counties' millage rates to justify an increase, and staff did not say or imply what millage they would be comfortable with. In contrast, we receive comparison charts to show how our millage is so low and to justify a millage increase. You ask our staff what millage they'd be most comfortable with, and we hear 10 mills. 10 mills is no laughing matter, and it seems to be the direction staff is leading you. Commissioner Campo and residents asked for more detail on expenditures. This info still hasn't been provided. What we have in the packet tonight is the same that was given several weeks ago, even a month or more ago. And those asking for detail shouldn't be labeled as curious, the elephant in the room, or they're after you. Add to this that there was no serious discussion of delaying projects nor stopping new projects like conversion to sewer in South Sewell's Point. Commissioners, tonight, is your final chance to redeem residents' faith in you. We ask that you do, as the Martin County Board did, listen to our voice, solely focus on our town's financial health and that of the residents. Delay projects. Stop using our tax dollars to make wish lists or start new projects. Stop assigning tax dollars to things the town cannot afford and does not want. Tighten our budget to live within our means. Do not approve this millage increase. Keep our millage at 2.87 and direct the staff accordingly. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kathy. All right, Town Clerk, is there any, okay. All right, Town Manager, do we have the, do you need to read the rollback announcement first before we have the discussing?
I'm your finance director.
Okay.
Satisfied that with the
okay.
presentation.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl. All right. Resolution number 925, adopting the final millage rate for fiscal year 2021-2022. Town Clerk, would you please read the resolution title into the record?
A resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Stools Point, Florida, adopting the final millage rate of the Town of Stools Point for the fiscal year commencing on October 1st, 2021, and ending on September 30th, 2022, and providing an effective date and other purposes.
Thank you, Town Clerk. All right, discussion amongst the commission. Vice Mayor Campo.
Yes, I'm a little confused. This is not stating what the new millage is, just that we are not passing the rollback rate. Is that correct?
No, we can read the entire resolution if you
Would
prefer,
you mind
Madam
doing
Mayor.
that? It was a little unclear. Sorry.
All right, Town Clerk.
Whereas the Town of Stools Point, Florida, the town, is a duly constituted municipality having such power and authority conferred upon it by the Florida Constitution and Chapter 166 of the Florida Statutes. And whereas the town has this date held properly advertised public hearing pursuant to the requirements of Section 200.065 Florida Statute.
Can't hear you with the shuffling of the papers up there. You cannot.
Excuse me. Town Clerk. Speak into the microphone, please. Are you speaking in the microphone?
Florida statutes to adopt a final millage rate for the 2021-2022 fiscal year. And whereas it is the will and desire of the Town Commission that the final millage rate has been approved and adopted as set forth below. Now therefore be it resolved by the Town Commission of the Town of Stools Point, Florida, as follows. Section 1. The whereas clauses are incorporated herein as true and correct and as the legislative findings of the Town Commission. Section 2. The Town Commission of the Town of Stools Point does hereby adopt its final operating millage rate of 3.2688 mils to be levied for the general fund upon all real and tangible personal property located within the boundaries of the above-named taxing authority. Section 3, the fiscal year 2021-2022 operating millage rate of 3.2688 mils is greater than the rollback rate of 2.8056 mils by 16.51%. Section 4, this resolution shall take effect upon approval by the Town Commission.
All right, thank you, Town Clerk. Vice Mayor, did you want to continue on, or was that your only point before?
No, that was the point that I had.
All right.
If you want to get a motion a second, then I'll have a comment.
Okay. Commissioner Fender, did you want to?
So just point of order, regardless of millage rate, the discussion of line items can happen after the fact in the next resolution, which is where the
Next
budget.
resolution is about the budget. This one is about the millage rate, correct, Town Manager?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Vice Mayor said he would wait. Said he would wait for a motion and a second. Can I get a motion to approve resolution number 925?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, open it up to discussion. Vice Mayor Campo.
Sorry. Just because the first time we did this, we had separate votes for the capital improvements and the salary plan. I voted against those. I just want to go on record as saying that if the issue of implementation of septic to sewer plan for South Sewell's Point or the implementation of going into debt comes before the commission, I will push as hard as I can that requires a referendum. I agree with what's going on out there, and I just wanted to mention that because the capital improvement program that was passed, which is not on tonight's agenda, put the road project behind the septic to sewer. So I'm just going to go on record as saying that septic to sewer should be, if it's voted on, should be according to a referendum.
Vice Mayor, I thought the South Sewell's Point Road was first. I don't remember.
The completion of the road all the way to A1A. It was only getting us about half of the way. But I just want to put that out there as far as, I think it's, if the voters, and we had something, Commissioner Kurzman had it in front of, and got pulled from the agenda, that the supervisor of elections would facilitate a referendum, I believe at no cost to the town, and that we could just put on there, would you be in favor of septic to sewer at a cost of $15,000 or $20,000?
Okay.
I think that would be, useful. So I'm in favor of the referendum, and I'll be voting against this resolution.
Okay, this is about the tax rate. This tax rate has been set by resolution that this money, this increase in millage is going for the South Sewell's Point Road project. I agree that all that septic to sewer needs to be discussed. A great workshop item. We have a workshop in October coming up. Great time to discuss it. I don't think that now is necessarily the time because this millage rate increase is only going to the South Sewell's Point Road project. Commissioner Kurzman.
Yes, I think it is important. I also will not support septic to sewer without a vote by the public. I'm not going to have anything to do with it at that point. I want to make sure that 100% of the money that I do support this does go to the road project.
Yes.
I don't believe anything should be mandatory.
Okay.
And I will not support that.
Okay,
But-
and this is, like I said, this is
Yes.
this resolution is just the increase in the millage rate for the South Sewell's Point Road project. Town Manager, did you want to add anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Seeing no more discussion, Town Clerk, will you please call the vote?
Commissioner Fender?
Aye.
Commissioner Kurzman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tompak?
Yes.
Mayor Mayfield?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Campo?
Nay.
All right, moving on to item number D, 5D, resolution number 926, adopting the final operating budget for fiscal year 2021-2022. Town Clerk, would you please read the resolution title into the record?
A resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Sewell's Point, Florida, adopting the final budget for the Town of Sewell's Point for the fiscal year commencing on October 1st, 2021, and ending on September 30th, 2022, and providing an effective date and other purposes. Would you like me to read the full?
Sure.
Whereas the Town of Sewell's Point, Florida, the town, is a duly constituted municipality having such power and authority conferred upon it by the Florida Constitution and Chapter 166 of the Florida Statutes. And whereas Section 166.241, subsection 2, Florida Statutes, requires each municipality to adopt a budget by ordinance or resolution unless otherwise specified in the respective municipality's charter, and whereas it is the will and desire of the Town Commission that the final budget be approved and adopted as set forth below, now therefore be it resolved by the Town Commission to the Town of Sewell's Point, Florida, Section 1, the whereas clauses are incorporated herein as true and correct and as the legislative findings of the Town Commission. The Town Commission of the Town of Sewell's Point does hereby adopt its final budget for fiscal year 2021-2022, which budget is attached hereto and incorporated herein as Exhibit A, the budget. Amounts allocated in the budget for expenditures effective October 1st, 2021 are authorized in accordance with the purposes and amounts set forth in the budget. This resolution shall take effect upon approval by the Town Commission.
All right, thank you, Town Clerk. Any discussion amongst the commission? Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I want to follow up on Mrs. Chantos and Mayor Weiner's comments and ask the attorney if Exhibit A is strictly the 2 pages in our brochure that say Exhibit A with a blue heading, or there is some other detail. Are we being asked strictly to vote on the Exhibit A, which indeed clumps together all salaries and wages, or is the detail also binding on the vote? And the detail would be in 5A.
So the attachment to the resolution is what you're voting on, but if provided that, and I can't, sitting here, do a line-by-line comparison, but providing that it accurately reflects all of the revenues, the taxes anticipated, and the expenditures that are anticipated, that would satisfy the legal requirements for the budget. You can provide additional detail if you want to. The finance people can speak to the budgeting and accounting practices that.
Well, the detail is 4 pages, single-spaced, small font. The Exhibit A is 2 pages, larger font. So I guess I'm wondering, since they're both being presented, are we bound by both work products or just Exhibit A?
Exhibit A is what is being approved, adopted as the budget in the resolution.
Then that's the only thing that it's bound by.
That's what is incorporated into the resolution.
Okay.
The other document
That-
would
that's-
be, if
that's
there's
what
any
I- yeah.
additional information in the other document, that would be a representation.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought too. That's
Finance Director, did you want to add any, I mean, this is, it's the same thing. One is just broken down into more detail than the other, correct?
Well, I think to the Vice Mayor's point, you approved a compensation plan that
Right.
included all of your line items and pay rates and positions,
Right.
and that's your teeth to the salaries and wages. So to the point that
Yeah,
the
so
town
there's no-
manager can't go and
give
budget
money to-
$1.1 million to herself.
Right. And she's not going to go changing around the approved compensation plan that we already did, correct?
She's not able to do that without commission approval.
Okay. All right.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Town Manager.
Correct. I will go to jail if that happens, just to be clear. But I'm sure the attorney is fine as well. If you want to adopt my memo, which has the coordinating document, you could do that, as we did in the last meeting, where you adopt that document, and then that would bind it. It is a detailed document of the summary. So we typically, year after year, offer the summary for adoption, but you could absolutely adopt the other pages as backup. It's the same information, but broke out.
All right, thank you. That's helpful, Town Manager. Commissioner Fender?
So I have a couple of questions, but your phraseology there was interesting. Can you remind me or tell me about the approved salary plan that I guess we voted on a couple of weeks ago, right? So does that imply that that there is no wiggle room on the salary line items on this budget?
Town Manager, I'll let you.
Madam Mayor, sir, you get to choose the classification and the ranges, and you approve that, which you did at the first budget hearing under the compensation plan, and then broke out, if you like, what is in this backup information. I also sent you separately, under separate file, every single salary and total compensation
I have that
of every individual, so that you would understand exactly what it looks like for last year and for this year. Correct, and then it is up to the town manager to distribute increases should I see fit.
Well, I just saw a really well-crafted presentation that said our property values have increased 2.3%, and that seems in line with inflation and historical inflation. So I'm concerned about the percentage increase on some of the line items, especially our biggest line item, which is salaries. So I'm wondering what that means in terms of that resolution. Apparently, we passed it a moment ago.
We did. We had gone over this at the last meeting, but Finance Director, if you wanted to.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we may want to have the chief as well speak to.
Okay.
I'm really looking at
5% across the board for the officers themselves.
Yeah,
Right,
I understand the individual line items. I just want to understand the overall budget approval process related to salaries that theoretically, that what I just understand we voted for and approved. So I'm trying to figure out what that percentage is that we approved.
3% was about the change between salaries and wages, FICA, retirement, all the incentives.
It's a spectrum of 3 to 5%.
Okay, but that's not the number I show on the budget
There's a
increase.
position that's unfilled, they told us about, a police officer position on salaries. I don't know if that's what you're looking at. And that's why is that possibly an issue? That was one thing we talked about.
Have I got the number wrong? Because I show 7.7%.
In salaries and wages, or in total of?
Total human resources. Let me do the math again. Hang on a second.
Yes, and one of those was an unfilled position that they accounted for.
Right, and unfortunately, we'll have two now, and then one of those was not electing to take insurance, which is an option for all full-time employees.
7.
So
Madam Mayor,
the
we are
likelihood-
quite fine.
0.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Madam Mayor, in the previous meetings, as the leader of the organization, I shared with you my concerns about breaking each individual person's salary
I'm not
out
asking for that.
and presenting it. I have that slide available and ready to go.
I'll leave it to Commissioner Fender, he's the one that's asking the questions, so if you
What I'm really
confident about what you
ultimately
want.
trying to do is contain wage increase costs, right? If the wage increase is between 7.7% and 9%, that's too high for me. And I can't recall actually voting on a percentage increase that high. Maybe it was presented in a different way, but.
Well,
But
I mean.
I like the 2.3% number that you're saying fills within our property value increases, and also
This is inappropriate
also the slide that says all operating expenditures fall within our 2.87 mils, which is really the key number to me, that we don't increase that millage rate impact.
Okay, hold on one second. So we had like I said, we voted on this before. I believe you're looking at, and there was an unfilled position, because I see you looking at total human resources. There was an unfilled police position. So that is not an increase in pay, that's a whole new position. So that's adding a whole new amount.
So what's the percentage?
I don't know, because we did this last time, and I don't have the percentages. We already approved the compensation plan. So we're trying to, if you want to add in the detail, as the town manager said, I think that would be a great idea. You can look in the detail, and that will give you more
I
detail.
have the detail. I brought it with me.
No, we got the,
No, I mean, I have the detail.
Madam Mayor, if I,
Yes,
also just
Finance Director.
to give you a few things, though, that are in there, too, is also your workers' comp and property and liability insurance. So all of human resources is not just salaries and wages, so there are increases in those insurance costs as well.
Okay.
At this point, Madam Mayor, I say show the slide.
okay, well, all right.
Okay, we can show the slide. I'm fine with that. I mean, it's public record, right? I mean,
Just say what, I don't need it. If you want to just say, I want the slide.
I want the slide.
There you go. That's all you have to say.
Is that what I have to say?
Yes.
Do you have an easy button? Do we have the presentation up?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Let me scroll down to it.
Commissioner Fender, I want to warn you already, there's a delta in there, and I'm excited
Oh,
for
no.
you.
All right. Oopsie.
Oh.
Okay.
So, here is your compensation by position.
Okay.
It also lists the 2021 annual, the 21-22 annual, and then a breakout of retirement, health insurance. Standard and Humana, just so you know, are health insurance that cannot be, because the town pays those, they cannot be refused by full-time employees, so we did have to include some of those. Your FICA. Special pay, you'll see the note at the bottom there. Special pay includes the PD mileage incentive that is provided, the statutory incentive for police department, sick leave incentive that is part of our HR manual, and the FTO and boot allowance. And then if you look all the way to the right, you'll see total compensation package for 21-22, the prior year total. The total change in compensation for all positions is $52,197.71 for the year.
So third from the last is your total compensation, which is what you're looking for.
Right.
Your positions are all the way to the left. And you can see the total compensation, where everybody ranks. And then you can see last year and the change.
And then just,
So this is a better chart than the one that I have, so I'm
Right,
happier
this is
about
the one
that.
I sent to you under separate cover. Yeah.
Let's
This is,
start
this
comments
is,
down, please.
this is why you hire a professional to actually handle this. And it's not typically
and then just to compare
a
that to the
discussion
budget,
item at a public meeting.
down below is that table that shows.
Everybody sit down, please. Let's be quiet.
So then there is the comparison to the 2022 budget and the 21-22 projections. That variance is the anticipated expense of backfilling one position and the second position for a potential
So,
officer that
so
would be.
tell me about the delta between this chart and the chart I was given last week. That's very similar to this, right? The one that,
I included a prior year total for you so that you could see the difference between last year and this year.
well, the next year's future total for the one that I'm looking at comes out to 1.5659 mil. That says 1.4612 mil. So this one's a little smaller.
Is that prior year or did you have the budget?
No, this is, it's it's the same chart, just modified somehow.
So is this something that you want, I mean, is this preventing, are you satisfied with this? I mean.
I don't know yet, I'm still thinking.
Can we-
No, not yet. So my next question, let's let that sit for a second, because those numbers are in line, and that's fine. Tell me about retirement, because I scoured the contract, and I scoured the employee handbook about retirement application. The way we are classifying this is salary separate from retirement. In every job that I've ever had in my world, a retirement deferred compensation is part of my salary, and I decide to put it into a future compensation allowance. We're pulling retirement out and saying that's a benefit and not really a salary. And I sort of disagree with that concept in general, but I wanted to see it written in the handbook or in the contract as to how it was treated, and I couldn't find it. Maybe I missed it.
So are you looking for what the retirement contribution is or what the
I'm looking
policy
for
is?
what our policy is on retirement contribution.
So 15% of base salary. So overtime is not included. Any overtime
Mm-hmm.
earned is not eligible for retirement.
Where is that documented?
It's in our employee
Please be
handbook.
quiet.
Okay, I'll look
I
again.
can get you the human resources handbook if that would help.
Well, I searched for the word retirement everywhere through this is the retirement handbook from dated 2015, updated recently, I think.
The human resources handbook?
HR handbook, is that what it's called?
Yeah, and it was
That's
part of the
you.
compensation package that you approved.
Okay.
If you'd like, we can pull up
All
the
right,
presentation.
so I'll just state, not understanding how it impacts, that our calculation of compensation should include deferred compensation, which goes into retirement, right? So calculations of compensation implying, to me, for instance, town clerk, being at the top of the list, is going to, as an example, is compensated $32,500, and we'll get a little jump. I didn't figure out the percentage, it looked like 5 or 6%. But there's no application to retirement, so that, to me, is her true compensation, right? The additional, where other people are contributing to retirement.
No.
No,
Sir,
sir.
this is the employer portion. Your town clerk is not eligible for retirement.
The town clerk is a part-time.
I'm just using that as an example, because
Well, no, I
they're all
just-
on the list.
This is what the town pays
Mm-hmm.
for its employees towards retirement. This is not an employee contribution.
This is what the town pays
Correct.
towards their compensation, their future compensation, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Which
all
is
right.
why
We're saying the same thing.
That's why that total compensation column is
Yeah.
really what you want to look at.
Yes.
Not just the base salaries.
Correct. That's not how we received it last, in the chart that I have, right? So it was broken out separately. All right, well, I'm interested in that policy on retirement because I think it's massively impacting our total compensation, right? So this isn't a discussion of a 110 per year, it's a discussion of 138,000 per year, right?
Yeah, well, and that's a separate, we do the
That's
contract. That's
Yeah.
our separate
Yeah.
thing. So this is just for edification.
Yeah,
Are you good, Commissioner Fender?
for now, yeah.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
So, the thing that started this was the black box number on Exhibit A and comparing it to this, and I think I may know the answer, but I'm just going to ask, if you look at the salaries on the screen that's up, 21 to 22, the bottom line is $1,072,397. On the Exhibit A, it's 1.15, so it's $80,000 higher. If you look at the retirement on this, what's on the screen, it's 155,740. But if you look at Exhibit A, it's 183. So there's maybe $100,000 difference there. So could you explain that?
Yes, sir. That's the variance bottom, or variance in this last column here is the difference of the budget versus what the projections are of actual salary increases. And that's the expectation. We now have 2 vacant police officers to fill with that money. So those aren't included in here because I don't know who they'll be in the projection.
So the difference between the 1150000 and the 1072397 is the unfilled officer positions.
So that's why you're expecting to fill that position, and then it would raise that to 1150.
That is correct.
Okay. Can I just have another question while we're on retirements?
You can have all the questions.
In the past, we've had unvested portions of retirement funds returned back to the town, and we've had large chunks. I haven't seen that. Is that an income that, when someone's not here for, 5 years, we get their unvested portions back? It's a forfeiture. Is that considered a potential income?
Not at this time. I will say I just completed payroll. There is a forfeiture of $660 that will be recognized as revenue, but not a large portion.
All right, thank you very much for your help.
Okay. Any other discussion amongst the commission? Seeing none, I would look.
May I just offer you this
yes, Town Manager.
last slide?
Oh, yeah.
Madam Mayor? Because there is a lot of, unnecessary controversy around why do we not separate out the town manager's salary? And this is a portion of the contract, not just my contract, but the town manager's contracts that specify that it's a separate item that's negotiated separately. And so I just wanted to make sure you had that verbiage in front of you.
Thank you, Town Manager. I appreciate that. And I also want to let everyone know, it's written in our charter that we hire a town manager, and she, manages the staff, and we approve the budget. This is all written out. There are other things involved too, but this is all part of the process. And she, she does a great job managing the staff, and she is, Town Manager, you can correct me if I hire, the fire, this is her position. So this is all the way it's supposed to go. We are not supposed to micromanage what the staff is doing per our charter. This is her, that's why we hire the town manager, that's why we decide the terms, and then the town manager handles the staff. And that is written in our charter, so.
And if I may just.
Yes, Town Manager?
And to clarify what the charter is the constitution for the town. Every city that's chartered has that. And it's written years and years and years before this commission.
Right.
And so we follow that charter to be within the rules of the state of Florida.
And I want to say this is all part of the process. We should be looking at it. We look at it all year long. This is all part of the process. This is stuff that goes on continuously. It's not just like this one meeting, we're deciding everything. Every month, we look at the financials. It's a year-long process. So, Commissioner Fender.
Can you go to the bottom line of this chart? Of Exhibit A, is that what this is? Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. All the way to the bottom. So I'm having a hard time comparing year-over-year deltas because of the inclusion of grant funds, I believe, as to why, we don't normally operate at a $7.4 million budget. We operate in the $3.x million budget. But comparing these two, I can go line by line and figure out the percentage change per line item. But can you tell me what the increase is under normalized?
So I believe what you're asking is, what is the increase of the original approved 2021 budget?
Yes.
Okay, so that number was 4.396 million. So that was
So-
last
so we
year's
have a decrease.
original approved budget, or, well, this current fiscal year's original approved budget.
Okay.
Then it got amended to 7.4. What the 2022 budget is proposed at is 3.5.
Cheryl, can you read me the 4 again?
Sure.
So-
4396244. And I'm pulling that from this document, this 4-page document. It has the original amended and then the proposed budget.
So this budget year is 20% less. Now, again, remembering how budgets work, when we receive grants, which we are still hopeful that we receive grants for the capital improvement projects, they will be added in, and that's how you get to a $7 million budget at the end of the year, because we have to receive the monies that come to us, and then we have to account for the money that we spend when it goes out again.
Another point to note, I've noticed with Cheryl, she's she knows her finance stuff. She does an excellent job. And as an accountant myself, a CPA, you are taught to be conservative. So when you're doing a budget and you're doing expenses, it's important to be realistic. And by conservative, I mean what you don't want to come back later and have to ask for more ideally. So these are conservative numbers. This is the way to do it. That's the way you're supposed to do it. And then ideally, all year long, like I said, the continuous process is strive to not overspend, strive to save money. Ideally, I agree, we should be saving money, we should not be overspending, but the budget process is about putting out those numbers that the most likely to spend and err on the conservative side. And would you say that's true, Cheryl?
Yes. I don't want to tell you that you are going to get revenue, budget expenses accordingly, and then have that revenue not come in.
Right.
That's not a position I want to be in for you.
All right, any more discussion?
I'm okay.
All right, can I get a motion to approve resolution number 926, adopting the final operating budget for fiscal year 2021-2022?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Thank you. Town clerk, would you please call the vote? Or, I don't see any discussion, so town clerk, will you please call the vote?
Commissioner Kurzman?
Yes.
Commissioner Tombeck?
Yes.
Mayor Mayfield?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Campo?
Nay.
Commissioner Fender?
Yes.
All right. All right, that is it for the important stuff. All right, now we are moving on to commission and staff closing comments. Staff, do you have any
Madam
closing
Mayor, if I
comments?
may make some closing statements about septic to sewer, real quick. Just
Sure,
that
that's
I
a
feel like
hot
we've got a
topic
great
tonight.
audience, and so it makes sense to me to do it. I think the, okay. I think what I've learned in the last couple of years is that the main thing that people really are against is being mandated. Some people have gone and done the right things and replaced their drain fields and replaced their septic tanks, and they've got a good 15, maybe 20 years ahead of them. And so they certainly don't want to be mandated to have to turn the process over to the vacuum system. So what's happened recently is the town engineer and we've talked about this, but I'm going to repeat it for the sake of the audience. We've had a chance to speak to Martin County Utilities and the city of Stewart. And based on the commission's okay with Commissioner Tompeck assisting us with some conversations, we've been partnering with Commissioner Tompeck too when there's an item that we think, let's just ask if there's something that we're missing here, because he's the expert in this area. What we are learning and what we're pursuing is the opportunity to move towards a gravity-assisted grinder system, which would enable people not to be mandated. It would enable the town to move forward with proper planning to make sure, right, the planning would make sure that that's going to work with the topography and the geography. It would also give an accurate estimate on, a more accurate estimate, that's kind of jumbo shrimp, but a more accurate estimate on the costs and the realistic expectation we can have for pursuing grants. And so in talking with City of Stewart and Martin County Utilities, why City of Stewart? City of Stewart, they don't have any projects ahead of them, and so they can deal with our projects right away, which is great news when we have up on South River Road, for instance, multiple homes being built, big homes, that we could potentially run a trunk line right from Benihana area right down and capture that right away if that was part of the plan. And Martin County Utilities has this as 29 right now. And based on their last meeting, when they did the budget meeting, that may have gotten pushed down because they delayed some projects. So what we're doing now is the proper thing, which is just trying to figure out what's next so that it's done right. Instead of coming out and saying we're mandating, and nobody wants that. I've heard clearly from the commission they don't want it. And correct, we've heard from the supervisor of elections that we can do balloting. So we can't do a referendum because they will not do a referendum, the supervisor of elections, because we are one town with one precinct. And they said they would not be able to capture an accurate vote from just South Sewell's Point. They did offer for free to allow us just to pay for the mailing. We would send out the balloting to everybody in South Sewell's Point address that we have. And then that would get sent back to the supervisor of elections, and they would do the tallying and give us that information. So you could do that before, or you could wait and do it after you get the information from the planning itself. But the key here is we have an opportunity with the grant funds that we're receiving based on the priority that the governor has put out to get this done pretty quickly. And as I've told anybody who has come and met with me, and I'm really open to meeting with anybody. I've met with Kathy Muskowski, I've met with others. We have a real deadline. In 2025, the governor's office has put out a plan. They would like to get the conversions done by then, which is why they're doing the incentive monies. So this is an opportunity for us. But when we're saying moving forward, and by the way, I couldn't find the 250 you were speaking of in the budget, so it's not in the budget tonight. But in an effort to move forward, you will be having come before you in future meetings your ARPA funds, which are absolutely available for you for planning. But it is solely planning. We can't have shovel in the ground until we actually get a finalized plan that shows what the surveying is going to be done, and the utilities will take it from there. But we're not that close. As much as some people would want sewer and some people would not want sewer, we're just not so close to say that you're doing it. But you absolutely have some funds coming available for you to do the right thing, which is plan it. So it's absolutely vetted.
Okay. Thank you, Town Manager. Are there any other staff comments?
No, ma'am.
All right. Any commissioner comments? I have a commissioner comment if I don't see any other. I wanted to say a few words about the mailer that got sent to Sewell's Point residents last week. It was a glossy type mailer that I'm sure we all recognize from election years. These types of mailers are not designed to engage thoughtful discourse, spark civic mindedness in residents, inspire folks who don't agree with the current elected officials to seek more information or run for election. They are designed to promote anger and distrust amongst everyone, whether or not they agree with the issue at hand. Please note the word and phrase choices, the stock photo angry lady, the insinuation that the elected officials betrayed them with promises of fiscal responsibility. And on a side note, the phrase fiscal responsibility doesn't necessarily only equate to never raising taxes no matter what the situation or no matter how valuable the project is. I said to everybody I communicated with, a lot of people, I believe in raising the taxes because I believe in the value of that project, and those taxes are only going to that project. But anyway, so go back to the mailer. To receive this type of mailer in our small town when it's not even election time is especially disappointing. And it makes you ask, who benefits from these flyers when there's no seat currently available? Who benefits from all the anger and distrust? And I also wanted to the residents who are unhappy with my vote tonight, I think that's a lot of you out there, my votes. I'm up here with the sole intention of doing what I believe is in the best interest of the town and its residents. During my first campaign, a wise ex-commissioner told me to remember that the power is in the seat, not the person. I strive to remember this every day. Governing is an infinite game, and at some point I will not be the one sitting up here, and I can only hope that future commissioners take the same statement to heart. I say all this because I'd love to stress to residents that you may not like what I'm saying, you may not like how I'm voting, you may not like the way the situation is going, but that does not equate to nefarious goings-on behind the scenes. Our visions of Sewell's Point for the future may just differ. Please know my goal every day is to do what is within my abilities to make the world a better place, and that includes volunteering my time to lead the town of Sewell's Point. And to another resident's point, I encourage people to run for office. I really do. All you have to be is a qualified voter in Sewell's Point, and you are eligible to run for office. So I really truly mean that. And I encourage residents who are interested in the town and passionate about the future to run. Those are my comments.
Here.
All right, any others from commissioners? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting? All right,